And welcome to a new video, and this time we're going to check out how to build a BeatSaber clone with Claude, Cursor, Three.js and WebXR, and only use a number of prompts, because in the free version we only have around 50 prompts a month for free for the premium model. And let's explore how this is done. And as you can see here, this is the final result. It's not perfect, but it's working basically really good, and it took me no longer than about 30 to 40 minutes to create this. And let's hop into it and check it out. So first of all, we need to make sure to download Cursor, the AI code editor. And this is fairly easy. You go to cursor.com, download it for Windows, create an account. And I created a free account, and as you can see here, every free account has the usage for 30 days for the premium models. This is about 50 requests. I used a few of them throughout the last month, and I thought it would be fun to use the remaining ones for creating this BeatSaber clone. After I installed Cursor and set it up, it looks a lot like Visual Studio Code. And just to spoiler you beforehand, I was stupid and did not click on record while creating this application. So I will walk you through the process of it, because when you click on this button here on the upper right, you can pop out this pane here, and in the composer there is always a history recorded of which prompts you used and what you did throughout the project. And we always need this panel down here for having the terminal open. And the cool thing is with Vite, because I used Vite as a bundler, you can just let it run here, let Cursor do all the updates to your JavaScript and HTML files and so on, and it will refresh automatically. So we will not walk through everything here, but I'll just show you around and show you how I did that. And just to mention it beforehand, I tried to use very simple prompts. So if you're good at prompting, and if you're better than me in prompting, which is not that hard actually, you will need a lot less of the prompts. But just for the sake of this tutorial and to test it out what the AI is actually capable of, I used not the best prompts here. So first of all, I told Cursor to create a BeatSaber clone in Three.js using Beat.js as a bundler, and make it work with WebXR controls for devices, new intuitive controls for 2D usage, and so on. So actually this you will have to copy and execute on your own. Create a Vite project, cd into it, install the types, and the SSL connection, as we need HTTPS to get WebXR up and running. And it created the main file, the main entry file, and updated the CSS. It always gives us explanations what happened, what is possible, and what you can do with it and how you run it. So I used npx vite -host to run, so I can run it on my VR device. I'm just casting it. And let's see how the first file looked for the main.js. You can always reapply those changes. And we'll just go with it and check it out. And one thing I stumbled upon is that it creates the files outside of my directory. This is not that big of a problem, as you can always shift it down here, and I use a prompt later on to move them in there. But for now, we'll just have a look here how this file looks. It's basically a scene, a camera, the controllers, the savers, the blocks is VR, and a check for is mobile or not. Setups the renderer here, camera, the comments are actually pretty good, and it's pretty similar to something that I would create if I would not be using AI. The main difference here is the speed, so all of this takes a very small amount of time. And the advancement in creating WebXR stuff with AI is so big that actually this was not possible a few years ago. So it always created some, let's call it bullshit, and this is actually how this looks like real WebXR code. Set up desktop controls, mobile controls, create the sabers, create the blades, and so on. And we see that there is no handling for collision at the moment, which is also interesting because basic scoring system. I think this would include something like, okay, we're now able to score something when the bases hit something, haptic feedback, visual appearances, and so on. So there is a lot of stuff missing, but it's only the first prompt, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay, that looks basically good. Spawn a block, random position at a certain distance, update blocks so they will move forward, window resize, animate, and check collisions. So here is no collision detection now, but it also tells us that it already accounted for it. So the next step would be make the scene brighter. Everything was black. It added the skyboxes you've seen before and so on. And add controls for the keyboard. So we can also use this with keyboard. I will show you that in a second. Okay, it updates the files and so on, and the CSS for having some kind of control helper in here, and movement, rotation, arcade, reset, control help. That's actually all already pretty good. And here I tried to shift the files from outside the project directory directly into the BeatSaber clone AI directory. It took me 2 prompts, regenerate already created files here. And now it's going to use the files within the correct directory. So I can close that. I will delete that. And yeah, the blocks didn't disappear. So we'll reapply the changes here. Wait for it, click on accept file changes, and the page will reload. And now we're checking out how it looks in the browser. And as you can see here, I can move my sabers around with my keys. I can rotate it. I can reset them. And nothing really happens. It even crashes. So let's check out why this is happening. If we look at the console here, on code error, document query selector, and so on, this is very likely due to the mixture of my files here. But as we scroll through the history here, the collision currently only works when the grip area of the saber collides. I've found that out through testing, and I wanted to change and so on. Then there was an error. I just copied the error here and tried to let the AI figure it out and solve it on its own. Entering VR disables a spawn. So what you need to do, and this is a very important thing here, is to test throughoutly. So everything you test and bugs you find, you can actually prompt directly to the AI model of Claude, and it will try to solve it as good as possible. Mostly the things worked fine, but sometimes the things were like, okay, I have to prompt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, especially for the particles. It took me a few prompts to get them working, and this will introduce new bugs. So in big applications, make sure to not always have the whole application rewritten here. And I even created a custom error where I tried to trick the model into something. That's not even there, but it actually handled that quite well. And again, I tried to make it work in non-VR and in VR. This is actually always a challenge, but it turned out pretty good. Desktop zeros are removed in the and one of the things you should be aware of is you can always scroll through the code and look for errors yourself and ask the AI if this and that would make things faster, or also ask it to add debug visualizations, which we'll see in a moment here. Still, the particles are not working. Collision only works when the saber handle is hit. Again, this is reintroduced because that was already solved beforehand. Plus block miss event, exactly, yeah. and so on. Collision detection is not really working, and I asked for a physics engine and it upgraded everything here. Just wait for it to reapply it. And the code is growing. Particles, animate particle, geometry, create heat effect. Here it is. It's actually pretty good. Only the zebra handles. Same error again. Remove the debug visualization. Floor grid. Make the score visible in VR2. This also took a few prompts because it created the wrong Three.js code, but only prompting the error message from the console, from the browser, worked actually pretty good. Okay, there was a warning. Move it here, move it there. And move the score to the upper left. Yeah, this was my mistake because I prompted it the wrong sides. The blocks are not despawning. So again, check what's going on, check if there is a bug and ask it to fix it. Move score, texts, especially when dealing with placement and something in VR, maybe do it yourself. This will be a little bit faster, but it can also be done by AI. So that's not a problem here. Text is not visible anymore. So we reapply basically the same errors that were there beforehand. But after a few prompts, everything basically works. And especially having the time save here is absolutely worth trying it. Okay, and that's a short take on how AI can help you create prototypes. This is especially useful for hackathons, for prototyping, and for just trying new things out. The code quality itself is like every, let's say, normal Three.js application. This gives a very good overview on how things can be done, how can font be loaded. This is more like a tutorial on how to create a Three.js application and actually working on a high level thing. And it also makes it possible to explore new things without having to crawl through the documentation and do everything yourself. And oh no, there is this error I can't fix and so on. So this is actually pretty good, and it will improve, of course, in the future. And as I already used up my prompts for this month, I'm pretty sure when having some kind of better subscription with more prompts, you can do a lot more, because 50 prompts is not much, and I was using, I don't know, about 20 to 30 prompts for this in a very short time, and this will massively speed up development. But after all that, I decided to put that on GitHub for everyone who wants to check out the code and what was done here. Maybe someone will expand from here, and the GitHub link is in the description box. Please like, subscribe, comment, and do all the YouTube stuff, and maybe consider becoming a channel member. We have channel memberships, and you see a list here of all the members currently supporting the channel. Thank you for that, and I guess I then see you at the next video. Bye bye.